Hey guys, Javier here. Just taking a little midweek back to basics. And you know, life is this sort of ebb and flow. We know who we are, we know why we came, especially when we're getting into interiorism, especially on this channel, guys. We know that we're one with that power, with that creative spark. But intentionally we get away from that, and again, it's sort of like swimming, as a great analogy was given. It's sort of like you pull and then you float, and then you pull and then you float, and there are these different modalities. Well, for the past few weeks I've been pretty much in pull, and I know a lot of people have. I know many of you have. We've been getting out there in the world, we've been playing, and then the problem with that is that even though we know who we are, there's a chance to get pulled into that so far that you sort of forget the essence. You forget that spark. It's happened to me. I don't believe that there's anyone who's enlightened or awakened. Nobody, guys. Not Sadhguru, not Krishnamurti, not all these people who are saying they're awakened. I believe we're all awakening. And even people like Neville Goddard, I have doubt when he says, well, I had this experience, and he calls this the awakening. And while that's great, again, I don't think Neville Goddard was fully awakened, because to be fully awakened, guys, is to be completely out of the dream. And ask yourself, in your heart of hearts, do you want to be completely out of the dream? And ask yourself, if you were completely out of the dream, completely having only the experience of the one, the non-dual, what would you do immediately? You'd immediately come back to the dream. You'd come back to another dream so that you can once again experience yourself as multiplicity. That's what we're here for. But when we get too much out there in the pool, and I know when I'm too much out there in the pool, when I start watching David Goggins' videos. And again, his modality is great. It works because it's about pushing through. It's about struggle. It's about embrace the suck. And, we might talk about it on this channel. It's a good modality. In the old days, and I might make a video about this, I have modalities that concur with different parts on the emotional scale of Abraham Hicks. If you're not familiar with the emotional scale of Abraham Hicks, let me just put it up here. As you can see, we have joy at the top, we have contentment in the center, and we have the negative emotions on the bottom. So if you look here on the bottom, below contentment, let's just say below blame, below anger, the modality that will sort of work here is going to be that David Goggins mentality. That is actually a good mentality to get out, because Abraham Hicks talks about the fact that if you're lower on the emotional scale, a higher emotion will give you more power and therefore take you up. So for example, if you're in despair, jealousy and hatred is going to take you up. Then anger is going to take you up from that. I hope you understand me just a little bit looking at this chart. But so at the bottom of that chart, David Goggins is really, I think, the best modality.
He was super frustrated. So he's like, I gained 20 pounds. I can't find my why. I can't find my purpose. I can't find motivation. Can't find a gym. He went on and on. So I said, hey, okay, relax. Just relax. Can you find your balls? Once you locate those, I need you to grab them. After you grab them, I need you to go find some shoes. If you got some shoes, you can go walk. You can go run. As far as the gym you can't find, do you have a floor where you live? Do some fucking push-ups. Do some sit-ups. We're waiting to find purpose. We're waiting to find why. We're waiting to find all this shit before we start. The thing about it is this. Start now. So when you find your fucking purpose and you find your why, you can get after it. Stay hard.
People like that. People like Arnold Schwarzenegger. People who say, you know what? Embrace the suck and get it. And even certain what people call rewilding. And I know Trevor Blake had this modality where every once in a while you want to go out into the woods, guys, and you want to scream, ah, or do it in a pillow. Because again, that will get all of that ossified negative emotion out of your body. Then you go up to what? You go up to sort of worry. You go up to doubt. You go up to overwhelm. And in that modality, guys, Stoicism is going to be your best bet. And it's where a lot of you are. I can feel the vibration. And so just getting back to the basics of Stoicism, of course, when you get to contentment, and when you get up to sort of like neutral, that's when the non-dual teachings, that's when meditation is going to become big. That's when present moment awareness. And then, of course, on the top of that emotional scale, guys, it's going to be Abraham Hicks, it's going to be Neville Goddard, and it's going to be the people who talk about creativity. It's going to be people like this channel. But what we're hoping to do is guide you through all of those modalities. So today, I just want to get back to this beautiful book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I started reading this book probably when I was 20, 21 years old, probably about 15 years ago. And there's been great soothing in here for me ever since. It's a beautiful book to return to. And again, this book is really going to help you if you're sort of in the middle of that emotional scale. So let's just look at his chapter where he talked about thought, guys. He says 8 words can transform your life. I just want to read some passages here just to get us to that mindset. He said the biggest lesson he ever learned, Carnegie, the most vital lesson I ever learned is the importance of what we think. If I knew what you think, I would know who you are. Our thoughts make us what we are. Our mental attitude is the X factor that determines our fate. Your thoughts are everything, guys, in this modality. Emerson said, a man is what he thinks about all day long. How could he possibly be anything else? I now know with a conviction beyond all doubt that the biggest problem you and I have to deal with, in fact, almost the only problem we have to deal with, is choosing the right thoughts. If we can do that, we will be on the high road to solving all our problems. The great philosopher who ruled the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius, summed it up in 8 words. 8 words that can determine your destiny. And I also recommend to our students in Interiorism that you read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a great work, and it will transform the game for you in the moment, guys. And I know that Marcus Aurelius and other philosophers talked about the fact that philosophy is like medication, philosophy is like a salve, and it's going to be like that thing that you can apply in the moment and then move on. That's sort of what we're doing here. Hey, Javier here with The Real Javier Mavoa, just taking a little break from making videos. I wanted to ask you a very quick favor. Do you enjoy the material? Do you like what we're doing on The Real Javier Mavoa? And would you like to see more? Please, if you enjoy our material, first of all, can you hit the subscribe button so that you can see our videos coming out? Also, hit the bell button because the algorithm now on YouTube is not showing all of the subscribers, all of the videos. We're still trying to navigate that. Could I ask you another favor? If you like what I'm doing, could you donate us $1? That's right. Would you be willing to invest $1 into our channel, into reaching more people, into teaching people interiorism and the practical aspects of living free? I'll put my PayPal and I will also put my Cash App in the description. Please donate us just $1. Everyone can afford $1. Donate us $1 and help me expand the channel, help me get better equipment, and help me reach more people. Thanks a lot, guys, and much love. To illustrate the magic power of thought, let me tell you one of the most astounding stories in the annals of America. I could write a book about it, but let's be brief. On a frosty October night, shortly after the close of the Civil War, a homeless, destitute woman who was little more than a wonder on the face of the earth knocked at the door of Mother Webster, the wife of a retired sea captain living in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Opening the door, Mother Webster saw a frail little creature, scarcely more than 100 pounds of frightened skin and bones. The stranger, Mrs. Glover explained, she was seeking a home where she could think and work out a great problem that absorbed her day and night. So here's this old woman, guys, an elderly woman. A lot of you think you're over the hill. A lot of you in your 30s, and I've seen 30s and 40s, think you're over the hill. This woman was, I believe, in her 60s, okay? And don't forget also Colonel Sanders, who was in his 60s. Age doesn't matter, guys. Look at what she becomes here. Why not stay here, Mrs. Webster replied. I'm all alone in this big house. Mrs. Glover might have remained indefinitely with Mother Webster if the latter's son-in-law, Bill Ellis, hadn't come up from New York for a vacation. When he discovered Mrs. Glover's presence, he shouted, I'll have no vagabonds in this house. And he shoved the homeless woman out of the door. A driving rain was falling. She stood shivering in the rain for a few minutes and then started down the road looking for shelter. She just stood there. She didn't go into despair. She acted. And of course, action is very important. Here's a secret, guys. Action is more important the lower you are on the emotional scale. But again, take not the action for results. Take it to go up that scale. Little tip. Here's the astonishing part of the story. The vagabond whom Ellis put out of the house was destined to have as much influence on the thinking of the world as any other woman who ever walked this earth. She is now known to millions of devoted followers as Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science, which is, of course, a global movement of mind and new thought. Yet until this time, she had known little in life except sickness, sorrow, and tragedy. Her first husband had died shortly after their marriage. Her second husband had deserted her and eloped with a married woman. He later died in a poorhouse. She had only one child, a son, and she was forced, because of poverty, illness, and jealousy, to give him up when he was 4 years old. She lost all track of him and never saw him again for 31 years. Because of her own ill health, Mrs. Eddy had been interested for years in what she called the science of mind healing. But the dramatic turning point in her life occurred in Lynn, Massachusetts. Walking downtown one cold day, she slipped and fell on the icy pavement and was knocked unconscious. Her spine was so injured that she was convulsed with spasms. Even the doctor expected her to die. If by some miracle she lived, he declared that she would never walk again. Lying on what was supposed to be her deathbed, Mary Baker Eddy opened her Bible and was led, she declared, by divine guidance to read these words from St. Matthew. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Jesus said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be ye of good cheer. Thy sins are forgiven thee. Arise, take up thy bed, and go unto thine house. And he arose and departed to his house. These words of Jesus, she declared, produced within her such a strength, such a faith, such a surge of healing power that she immediately got out of her bed and walked. That experience was the falling apple that led me to the discovery of how to be well myself and how to make others so. I gained the scientific certainty that all causation was mind and every effect a mental phenomenon. So every effect is a mental phenomenon. Of course, in interiorism, we go deeper. We take this steps higher. This is the basis right now, guys. This is the basis. I just want to read this and I'll be done with this. Again, as you listen to these words, meditate on the essence of interiorism and meditate on the fact that it's all in here, guys. These stories just serve as sort of encouragements and proof of that. There's a man who was very depressed in his life. He said he had stomach ulcers, he was losing his hair, he worried about everything. He goes on, I don't want to read it all, but he goes on. My breakdown was so severe, I couldn't talk to even my own family. I had no control over my thoughts. I was filled with fear. I would jump at the slightest noise. I avoided everybody. I would break out crying for no apparent reason at all. Classical depression. Every day was one of agony. I felt that I was deserted by everybody, including God. I was tempted to jump into the river and end it all. I decided instead to take a trip to Florida, hoping that a change of scene would help me. And many people move, guys, and we're not saying not to move, But a lot of people move just to get away from themselves, but they bring themselves with them. As Abraham Hicks says, you have to change yourself first. As I stepped on the train, my father handed me a letter and told me not to open it until I reached Florida. Basically, he reached Florida, he rented a room, and he spent time at the beach. He was still upset. He opened the letter and he looked what his father said. He said, "Son, you're 1,500 miles from home, and you don't feel any different, do you? I knew you wouldn't, because you took with you the one thing that is the cause of all of your trouble. That is yourself. There's nothing wrong with either your body or your mind. It is not the situations you have met that have thrown you. It's what you think about these situations." Of course, Epictetus said this. "As a man thinketh in his heart," as the biblical scripture says, "so is he." When you realize that, son, come back, for you will be cured. It made him angry, and he got home, and his life got much better. Guys, he says, I'm going to end with this. Dale Carnegie says, "If we cherish creative thoughts and courage and calmness, we can enjoy the scenery while sitting on our coffin, riding to the gallows. Or we can fill our tents with ringing songs of cheer while starving or freezing to death." He was talking about several of these stories. And this is very important, guys. I said I was going to end with that. I want to end with this. We teach it on our channel. William James, who has never been topped in his knowledge of practical psychology, once made an observation. Action seems to follow feeling, but really action and feeling go together. And by regulating the action, which is under the more direct control of the will, we can indirectly regulate the feeling, which is not. He says, just make up our minds to be cheerful. Thus, he says, the sovereign voluntary path of cheerfulness, if your cheerfulness be lost, is to sit up cheerfully and act and speak in cheerfulness. Does that simple trick work? Try it yourself, Dale Carnegie says. And I say, put on a big, broad, honest-to-God smile on your face. Throw back your shoulders. Take a good, deep breath. Maybe two. And sing a snatch of song. If you can't sing, whistle. If you can't whistle, hum. You will quickly discover what William James was talking about, that it is physically impossible to remain blue or depressed while you're acting out the symptoms of being radically unhappy. Goggins goes into this too. We're not going to use bad language on this channel. It's a family channel, but he talks about the fact that you have to just get up and find your manhood, find yourself, grab it, and then go run, and that then feeling will follow action. So don't wait to feel good, guys. We say this many times. This is not about feeling good. It's about making up your mind to be who you are. And in Interiorism, we know who you are. Have a great rest of the week, guys. Be of good cheer. Go out there and do it. But don't get so lost in the doing that you forget who you are. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sharing the videos. And we have a lot of exciting content coming up this weekend, including our Sunday service, which we're now making a tradition. Let's start releasing that at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time. Every single Sunday, it's going to be like a little gathering place, a safe place where we can all come and we can learn about these principles of interiorism, these spiritual principles. Also, probably every Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to be releasing our show, The $1 Million Weekend, based upon Noah Kagan's book, The $1 Million Weekend, where I go out and just start getting streams of income from scratch. Our last video was the first episode of that. Give it a watch. Give it a like. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys very soon.